black, white, racism, injustice, civil rights, prejudice, stand, fight, the mixed education of a race. Selma, Lord Selma. Oh freedom, oh freedom, oh freedom over me.
So, Ms. Christburg, so today, do you think the civil rights movement is over?
No. Today I think that the civil rights movement still prevails, and it needs to for many reasons. Number one, we need to ask the question, do Americans still have equal opportunity for equal justice? No. Then we also need to ask the question, do Americans have equal protection under the law? As we really look at the news from day to day, we can see many instances where people are being imprisoned. People are really in jail for different crimes that they perhaps may not have done. And there's just a miscarriage of justice.
So, do you think the platform that we're on today as far as the civil rights movement is inequality?
Most certainly.
Most
Certainly. Inequality is seen in so many different forms in our lives, particularly as African Americans, as women, and even as children now. So inequality is very much on the line. It's on the forefront as it relates to many things that in which we're being plagued with today.
What role do you think black women play in today's civil rights movement? And do you think that it's different from the role they played in the iconic civil rights era 50 plus years ago?
The role that black women play today in the civil rights movement is very, very critical. And it's critical because black women are our leaders of today, and we need great leaders. And as you could see in many instances, it's black women who are still on the forefront when you look at different scenarios politically, economically, in the church, in the schools. Black women are in the forefront. And because black women are more educated now, they're given more opportunities now. This is a different time. The Fannie Lou Hamels, who were of the past, of the 50s and the 60s, they were in the background and they couldn't be on the front. But we got some Fannie Lou Hamels today who are in front. We have some Ella Bakers who are in front today.
So, as an activist, when you were that 6-year-old girl that was marching next to Martin Luther King, and even to this day, even you now, what do you think propelled you more? The fact that, was it your womanness or was it your race?
I would think it was both, because when I was a child growing up in the civil rights movement, you know, that was a different time for me and for even adults. And because of that time, you had to do things based upon having courage. And I was that little girl who had that courage. I wasn't afraid to be a part of something that was different. And it took a determined mind, a person who had great self-esteem. And I had that without even really knowing it, as that poor little child, as that young little girl. And because of the challenges that we met as a race during that time, race was definitely a factor. I was a black little poor child, and being that black poor child, I understood the difference between black and white, right and wrong. And I grew up in that movement, and what propelled me to be the person that I am today, to meet the challenges of today and not be afraid, to have that character, that commitment, and that courage. It really played a great role in my life as that child and me being an adult today.
So Ms. Christburg, so let's just think about women present day. Do you think they possess that same drive and determination as you and your counterparts back in the iconic civil rights era?
Personally, I don't think that women possess the same character, commitment, and courage that women had back during the iconic times of the civil rights movement as they should. I really don't think so. I think it's possible and it's coming. It's forthcoming. There's much work to be done. Well, we've lost a lot of ground. And because of that, we have to work harder and we have to prepare harder. Nothing good comes easy anymore. It didn't come easy then, and you had to have a certain mentality, a very unique attitude in order to face the challenges of the 50s and the 60s. And today when I look at it, based upon what we're being faced with or plagued with today, people are not willing to have that same courage and commitment as they should. People are not valuing things as people did in the 50s and 60s. So I think that there's much work to be done in that era, and I think that there's more reason for us as women in particular to continue to be the role models in which we need to be, and for our younger women. And they must know too how important it is to become educated. But the biggest thing is Patreon. Patreon is that they need to know who they are. They need to know who they are. I see so many women who have low self-esteem for different reasons, and it's so important for them to break out of that pattern and become productive women, because it can be done. And those are the things that we must focus on as role models for younger women, to encourage them, to inspire them to become as educated as they can, to know their history, to know who they are, and to strive not only to be their best, but to do their best and not be ashamed.
Women are 3 times as likely to graduate, from college than men are, and not only that, in a lot of households, women are the breadwinners. So, when you think about women present day and knowing that, and you being such an iconic woman, and for you to say that, it's like, wow, it's like, whoa, it's like a wake-up call, because when you really think about it and you think about the courage that you and your counterparts possess, and you think about women now, it's like, So what advice would you give them as far as regarding today's civil rights movement?
When I reflect back on the iconic civil rights movement of the past and think about the civil rights movement of today and the women of today, I think of how important it was when I saw families come together, regardless of what was going on. And what we have to do today is make sure that our families are whole. Not only are women are our breadwinners, but they are raising our children. And we have to do whatever it is as women to ensure that in raising our children that we give them the best that we can give them, regardless of our status in life. If nothing else, we can teach them respect. We can teach them how to dress. We can teach them what's right and what's wrong. We can teach them values, and we can teach them that they can stand up for what they believe that's right. All of those things really, really matter. They mattered yesterday. The family was very critical in the process of the iconic civil rights movement then, and it's more important that women understand how important it is for them to do the same today. If it was nothing else that we could count on, we could count on family. Mm-hmm. But you can't really say that today like you could yesterday. And we need to get back to those bases of knowing what's important in our lives in terms of embracing family, embracing our communities, not only through the churches and our homes and the schools and politics. This is the advice that I would give to our women of today.
So with that being said, I know you focus a lot on family, but do you think today that a lot of us have like that selfie mindset? It's kind of like when you think of a family, you think of a family as a unit, and now it's like a lot of people, women and men, are just, it's like we think about self. We don't take family into consideration.
Well, I think you hit it on the nail. People today, more than ever, are concerned more about self than others. When back in the 50s and 60s during the iconic civil rights movement, people were concerned not only about family as a whole, but the beloved community. That's what we could have called ourselves back during that time, because everybody looked out for everybody. But today people are just looking out for themselves, and that attitude needs to change. And the people who can help us change that are our women, because we are on the front line. We are raising our children. It's not to say that there aren't, black men who are embracing the idea of raising, but we have more single parent women. We have more single parent women who are the breadwinners. And that's why it's so important that women understand how important their roles are in this process.
We will be sure, we will be sure. Oh, glory, glory, oh, glory, glory.
Hands to the heavens, no man, no weapon formed against, yes, glory is destined. Everyday women and men become legends. Sins that go against our skin become blessings. The movement is a rhythm to us. Freedom is like religion to us. Justice is juxtaposition in us. Justice for all just ain't specific enough. One son died, his spirit is revisiting us. True and living in us. Resistance is us. That's why Rosa sat on the bus. That's why we walk through Ferguson with our